This episode of The Bill and Callie Show is brought to you by This episode of The Bill and Callie Show is brought to you by Tiger Plumbing. Whether you need to replace a faucet, overhaul your sump pump, or desludge your drains, call Tiger Plumbing. In today's world, knowing who's at your door is important. Tiger Plumbing sends you your technician's photo, estimated time of arrival, and a little bit about him or her. Hey, Sam likes fishing and camping. Cool.
Hello, welcome to the show, and with us today we have Angela Johnson Frick. Welcome to our show, Angela.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
We're excited.
We're excited. We're excited to hear about you and what you do. And just so our viewers will know, Kelly has decided to take social distancing to even further distance from me. So she's in a completely different room. Right. So you're going to have to speak up a little bit there, Kelly.
I'm in another room and two of the doors are shut to keep him away.
Yeah. So which everyone is used to. Yeah. So next thing you know, it's going to be another state. Next thing you know, another country. So, well, so now that we have all that tomfoolery out of the way, which is our show, may I add. So welcome to our show, Angela. Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from, and what some of the things that you do?
My name is Angela Johnson Frick, like Bill said, and I have a nonprofit called Shatter. We have some programs, and before I tell you about the programs, I'm going to tell you a little bit why I started this. We lived in Hammond, Indiana about 13 years ago, and we lived there for about 12 years. And being a mom, because we're nosy, right? When our kids are in football and soccer, we go to the PTA meetings, we know all the kids, and we do everything right at the time. One day, I just wanted to tell you that because that's what moms do, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're happy, we're involved with the kids, we think we know everything about them, and sometimes we even think our kids are our best friends. One day, my son, who was a freshman in college, came running home, and actually no, he was a senior at Gavitt High School, and he came running home and he said, "Mom, I need you to come save my friend." And immediately, the look on his face, I knew something was wrong. We jumped in my truck. We went 2 blocks down. We ended up having to go into a home where as soon as you walk in, you hear a woman crying, and it's panic. It's not a normal crying. I remember walking downstairs to the basement and seeing my son's best friend on the floor. He was lifeless, and I couldn't save him, you guys. I could not save him. He was already gone. So I did not know how to help this mom. I had no clue what to do. I had no clue what to say. So I whispered in her ear and I said, "I know you're not going to remember me, but I'm Jimmy Johnson's mom, and I'm going to hold you until EMS comes." So I knelt on the floor while she was holding her lifeless son. I was a mom holding her lifeless son, just sobbing. And I said, "Honey, everything's going to be okay," because I didn't know what to say to her. And as I sat there on the floor and looking at the policeman who was obviously in shock, who didn't know what to say either, and my son and his best friend, looking into their eyes, I knew something had to be done. I just kept looking around the room as I'm holding this mom. Something has to be done. Somebody has to do something. And at this time, this was her second son who decided to leave this earth by suicide. And it was within 10 months. Unfortunately, last year, she too left this earth too early. What I have to say about all this is we can be the best parents, and we can know the who's, the what's, the when's, the where's, and the why's. The why is actually something that we don't know. Why do kids do what they do? Who are they talking to? You need to know your kids' friends. You need to know their parents, especially if they're in a good environment when your child or children are going on a play date. You need to know their teachers. When this happened, and as I was on the floor and with this mom, I asked the police officer when we let me finish the story. I was on the floor with this mom, and I had to fib to her, you guys. I had to lie to her to get her off the floor. I said, they're coming to help your son. He's going to be okay. I had to literally rip this poor mother off of her son, take her upstairs, which was the longest walk of my life, because I knew we couldn't save her son. Sit her on the couch upstairs. And at that time, her best friend came, so she took over. I was not leaving this mom until EMS came, her best friend was there, or a friend of any kind was there. And that's the proper procedure, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But she was okay. As soon as I knew she was okay, I left her. I went back downstairs, and I kissed her son on the forehead. And so did my son and his best friend. When we came upstairs and talked to the police officers, and they gave us the okay to go home, I still made sure she was okay. I made sure that she had somewhere safe to be. And my son and I got to our truck, and I made him pinky promise that he would never, ever, ever make me feel the way that mother felt when we left that home. In 2014, June 3rd, my son took his life. It was 4 a.m. in the morning, and my partner at the time, he was getting ready for work. He found my son, and I won't tell you what goes on behind closed doors when your son takes his own life, but I can tell you it's something that no words can describe other than just complete sadness. And I'm always left with the questions, why? I have, at that point, immediately I knew something had to be done. Now, when his friend passed away, I asked the police officers upstairs, what more can I do? And they said, get more involved in your community. To me as a mom, that meant, well, I already go to the PTA meetings, and my kids are all in sports, and I already talked to all the moms, and all the kids come to my house. When you're a sports mom, your house becomes a Kool-Aid house,
Right.
the safe house. You're the cool mom. You bring snacks, you bring pop, everybody loves you. And that's just not enough, you guys. It's not enough. And to be honest with you, I did not know the signs to look for. And as I step back as a parent now that I've taken all these classes in Porter County, which I have to applaud Porter County. They have been such good people to me and so welcoming. And they've given me the tools to know the questions. Unfortunately, I must not have asked the right ones at the time, but I did the best I could as a parent. I can honestly say that.
Absolutely.
Of course. I did find out that my son was a self-injurer, so he was in a support group for 4 years. We thought he was better, and he wasn't, because like I said, he did end up passing away, died by suicide. So as parents, PTA isn't enough. We need to get involved in our community. The policemen were correct. So I went to the Geminis Center in Lake County, Indiana, and there's also the Porter County Substance Abuse Council. They are awesome. Everyone is so welcoming. But what they did was they gave me the tools and the questions, which as a parent, you already think you ask, but you really don't. And it's not our fault. We're maternal. We want to take care of our kids, see them grow up, have a family, have a wedding. And now that I can't do that with my son, I have 3 other children to live for. And I have all of my son's friends who actually, when I look into their eyes, I see my son. They are all growing up, getting married, having kids. And it's a beautiful thing. And I am so sorry that my son's friends have to grow up without James. His name was Jimmy Johnson. And, he was such a good boy, but I can talk about my son all day. What I really want to talk about is the programs that I now know how to teach. I teach QPR, which is question, persuade, and refer. And it is a program that every county through the, what is it called? United Way. They offer a lot of programs. The Gemina Center, Porter County. QPR is an offered program that teaches you how to ask a question to save a life. And I took QPR. There's another one called Assist, which is a 2-day program. There is SOS, which is signs of suicide. And there are grief counselings. There are you can learn about Narcan, which I was going to talk about next. But let me tell you a little bit about what our program does, because after all these years of wondering, how can I save these kids? It's so hard to know. It is so hard to know, you guys. I did everything I could as a parent. My son was in therapy. He was a good boy. He was in college. He had money in his drawer. He had a new truck. He had a girlfriend who was, to me, perfect. And you just don't know what someone is thinking. So let me tell you about some programs, and then I'm going to tell you about, let me tell you about depression and anxiety. The two, they're different, okay? Depression is feeling sadness and hopeless for more than 2 weeks, or losing interest in activities you used to enjoy. And anxiety is continuous worry that leads to panic. So, and that could be, anxiety could be, some signs are racing thoughts, not sleeping, and pacing through the home. So if you know anyone who's pacing through the home and they just say things like, oh, I'm just so anxious, ask them some questions. Well, what are you thinking about? Have you talked to anyone? Do you want to talk to me? Those are just 3 simple questions that it's just so hard to ask, because then you want them to trust you, but you also have to say, you can trust me. Talk to me. Tell me what's going on in your mind. I see that you haven't been sleeping. Let's see. Let me tell you about the programs. I'm a little, I told the story about my son, so now I'm a little emotional. Yes.
We totally understand.
Oh boy, it's hard. It really is.
We can only imagine.
I enjoy speaking to other parents and hearing their stories, because it lets me know that I'm not alone, and it lets them know that I am here for them.
Right.
Also.
And that they're not alone either.
They are not alone. The one important thing that Shatter Silence is a nonprofit, but we have programs. And what we do is we go to libraries, or we come to you in a conference center. And one of them is about Narcan education and training. Narcan is at every pharmacy. And if you don't know, you're about to find out. You can get 1 per household 4 milligram spray called Narcan. And CVS and Walgreens will train you. I can train you also, but it's just a nasal spray. It's not a shot. It's not like an EpiPen. There are different types of naloxone, but Narcan is the only FDA nasal spray that is allowed in the home without a prescription. And it is due to the Aaron's Law. Justine Phillips is a remarkable woman, and she created Aaron's Law in remembrance of her son, Aaron, whom unfortunately he lost his life too. But I could tell you about her story, but I bet she wants to tell you. So this is Narcan, and if you find someone on the floor that you suspect is having an opiate overdose, thank you. There are some signs that you can look for, and it's if their pupils are not dilated, if it's a pinpoint, if they have shallow breathing, if their lips are blue, you check to make sure they're breathing, and if they're in cardiac arrest, they might need rescue breathing also. If you spray this in their nose, it lasts for 30 minutes, and it will wake them up like that. Sometimes you need more than one nasal spray, but you need to call 911 immediately, and please stay with that person. After you spray this in their nose, make sure that you put them on their side and that you stay with them and let them know EMS is coming. I have called them. Those are just some tidbits on Narcan, but you can get this without a prescription at any pharmacy, one per household.
That's really good to know.
Yes. A lot of people don't know that you can get it.
Yeah.
At your pharmacies. And I really think that's important. You need one in your purse and you need one in your medicine cabinet. And the reason why I say one in your purse is because it could be an accidental overdose. And it's not always about your family.
No, it could be walking down the street. Absolutely. Definitely. And we want to save lives. We're all human. We are all human, you know, and I know that we're all good people. So the second one is Deterra. It's called Deterra pouches. And what these do is any narcotics that you have in your home that you say you went to the dentist and he prescribed you 10 pills of an opiate and you only took 2. So you've got some left over. And what the Deterra pouch does is all you do is open it, you pour it in, and it dissolves it. You seal it and you take it to any pharmacy. Yeah. A lot of people don't know about those, but our program, if you email me or the Shatter Silence, if you email Shatter Silence, we will give you a pouch. We will show you how to use it. And the same thing with Narcan. We also teach QPR classes, which teaches you the questions of how to ask. And when you take the class, you're going to get a little booklet that says QPR. And it asks questions like a less direct approach. Have you been unhappy lately? Have you been so unhappy that you don't want to wake up in the morning? A more direct approach would be, are you thinking about suicide? And I know no one likes that S word. No one likes it. It means despair. It means that you don't feel worthy. And sometimes you just have to just swallow your gut and just ask. We don't want to lose our loved ones. We don't want to lose our neighbors. And we just need to be direct and ask. So it's question, persuade, and refer. So the next step would be you need to be a good listener and not interrupt. And I know a lot of us, we get so excited when we talk to people and we're so afraid we're going to forget what we want to say. So we just start interrupting, our loved ones. But when someone is in despair, they really need a good listener. So this is a good time to just listen. Really listen. Never brush off somebody who says, I'm not okay. And then refer is question, persuade, and refer. So we offer resources, and there are resources in Porter County at the substance abuse, and there are resources in Lake County like the Geminis Center. We will contact somebody if you need resources. I have some resources that we have. Our Addiction Resource Center by Never Alone Recovery. We have a self-injury support group in Crown Point that meets twice a month. And we participate in all 3 of these, but we also refer them because we want to be involved as much as we can. Hope Cafe is a peer group in Hammond that meets the first Friday of every month. And we're trying to get the kids to kind of run it a little bit. They've all been in different situations in Hammond. It's on I believe it's, oh, what is that street called? I believe it's the street that Gavitt's on. Gavitt High School. Suburban Street. That's what it's called. But we teach QPR. So it's question, persuade, and refer resources. QPR is for everyone. Anyone can take this course. This year it became mandatory in Indiana for all teachers to be QPR certified, including all EMS response teams, which they already had to be certified. But it's important for our teachers because now that they know the signs, we got to get our kids to know the signs. Right. And so I'm actually proud to tell you, District 35 fought very hard, and that is in Lake County, Indiana, for a bill. It was bill number 247. It passed the floor in Indianapolis and state. And so what it is grades 1 through 12 has to teach one chapter of mental health awareness. So for 12 years of their life, one chapter is all we asked for, and we got it. And that was the bill that was passed. So,
when was that passed? When was that passed?
It was passed the last week of February, I believe it was.
Okay, this year.
And it was exciting. If you've never been to Indianapolis to talk to your congressman, please do. Please go. You can look it up. Everything is at our fingertips. It's awesome, the bills that they pass, and it's phenomenal the way that they pass it. You see all the Congress's name, all of our state representatives, how they pass the bills, which bills they're passing that day. It's really incredible, you guys. We need to be better for our community.
No, and I will have to say this: two issues that have received overwhelming bipartisan support because they realize the problems that the state has is mental health and substance abuse, two huge problems. And so that you very rarely get debates across the aisle on those. So, but it is good to hear that finally. I've heard that they were working on something, but I've been so out of touch with them. I haven't had a chance to check in. So that's great news.
It is great news. And again, don't forget that you can get Narcan spray because it reverses the side effects of the opiate overdose. And it doesn't work for alcohol. So if someone is passed out from that, it will not wake them up. Unfortunately, please call 911 so EMS can come. Always stay with the person, no matter what. You stay and make sure that they're okay until EMS comes. So far we've talked about Narcan education, the deterror pouch education, QPR classes, and grief share groups and life skills after a loss. Now, I was asked this question last month. Do fur babies count? And I said, absolutely. That is a grief. Divorce is a grief. A breakup for teenagers, that is the end of the world to our teenagers. Anyone in middle school, the end of the world, right? That's grief. And we have grief share groups that if you look up grief share groups, usually a lot of them are in churches, but are not faith-based. Right. I have one going on right now in Cherville, Indiana. So if anyone is interested in going to Grief Share, all you have to do is email me and I'll tell you all that fancy information in a few minutes. But what I wanted to tell you guys right now is that we have gift cards for families in need after a suicide or loss. Our gifts are anonymous. So if you know someone who has lost a loved one by suicide, we have gift cards. I know it's not a lot, but it's something that we like to do for our community. It's Casey's. So it is Little Caesars, Casey's gas cards, Strachan Van Til, Myers, and State of Mind Spa. Those are our charity groups right now for gift cards. So if anyone knows anyone, you can call me at 219-746-2620, or you can email me at shattersilenceinc@gmail.com and tell me a little bit about your story. I have 2 pizzas. I have probably 40 gift cards from Little Caesars for 2 pizzas for each home to give away. And like I said, a handful of other charities. So if you know anyone who is struggling right now during this pandemic crisis, not just after a loss, please contact us and I will find you the resources. I will get you the gift cards and I will shop for you.
Angie, if you'll do me a favor, though, if you can just go ahead and get all those links and message the Bill and Kelly show, I'll make sure that because we're doing live now, not Memorex, right? Live. So I'll have to modify the posting when and include your information in it. But I'd love to get that information up. And so just pass that along to me, and I'll make sure it's included. But I tell you, just the grief that one goes through is just, especially when you lose a child. Oh my gosh. They always say there's nothing worse than when a child passes away before you do. And
I honestly, as a parent, even though I've gone through these classes, when people say that to me, it's almost selfish of me to think about that, because to me, a loss is a loss. And it could be my child or my mother or my brother. And I just feel like I don't want to take away that factor of my loss is greater than yours. That's actually a question that I had for my pastor. Is my loss greater than my daughter's or my son's? And for me, it was selfish. Now, I don't know how it is for everyone, but for me, it was selfish for me to even think that question. But I know we only have a few minutes because I could talk all day about my son, James.
That's, we know. No apologies needed.
Parents, you're not alone. You can contact me. I will buy anyone coffee, tea, a hot meal. That's what our nonprofit is for. And I'm a neighbor. I'm your neighbor, and I'm your lifesaver.
Now, is it only for people who have lost their children or youngsters and things like that, or is it for anyone who's going through?
Anyone who is going through a loss or grief at this time.
Okay.
Yes, anytime. But because of the pandemic, we wanted to spread our roots and say, you know what? We're all grieving right now. We're grieving because we're not at work. We're grieving because some of us are healthcare workers and they're telling us, to stay home if we're sick or if our family is sick. So, and we want to help them, as healthcare. I was a CNA for 21 years.
Oh,
so
Lord.
I understand that disconnect where, you want to go check on your patients. You want to go check on the elderly. You want so bad to help. But if someone like your child or someone is sick, you can't go.
Right.
And that's the protection of the community.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I hear from more and more healthcare professionals when it comes time for them to retire, although they're looking forward to their retirement, but they truly don't because they miss that interaction, that constantly, on their toes looking after their patients. So, it's something.
Yeah. And actually, they can volunteer at a nursing home. And that's what I remind people too. I always, you can volunteer. And I know it's not the same, but like you said, it keeps the interaction going.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can volunteer at hospice center, nursing homes. I mean, it's really, gosh, and that's what we're running into with this pandemic. I mean, just about every one of the non-for-profits that we talk to are in demise right now. I mean, literally. They can't have the people that normally help them. It's a very tough state of affairs right now.
It is. So during the pandemic, what I keep trying to tell people is, I know it's hard to keep a daily routine, but at this time, try to do a hobby. You always said, I don't have time to do it. I don't have time to create a new hobby. Yes, you do. Now is the perfect time. Write somebody a letter. When's the last time you've written a letter instead of typing or emailing? That is another good one. Another good idea. Zoom, FaceTime, text for social distancing, write letters to family. And actually connecting this way, the way that we are right now, can actually minimize anxiety and depression because we're still connecting, right?
Right. I hope people hear that because we've got a project out now that connects
Do you?
neighbors by virtual. That we're 1 o'clock today. We're having a virtual connection with people all over the region, Chicago and Michiana area. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So yeah, that's something that really is this troublesome about this period of time because we keep on hearing we are going to things are going to be different. And after this passes, um, this is a catastrophic point in time. Our
It is.
society is going to come out the other end looking different. How I don't know, but you can't. I mean, economically, socially, physically, it's all going to be different.
Yes. Yeah. I just hope through all of this that we come out as better people. We learn to respect one another in a different way, especially with our hygiene and sanitizing. And I hope that the community, what am I trying to say? Um, it's the little things that really matter. It's not all this stuff we have. You know what I mean? It's not the BMW that we have. It's not. It's about family and community coming together to make us all better. That's
Right.
what we should be learning a little bit, I think, about right now.
Yeah.
Empathy, coming
Yeah.
together, feeling, looking out for your
For
neighbor.
me, I can't wait until I can hug my friends again. To just see them and hug
Oh
them
yeah,
and give them a hug and just feel that connection.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
yeah.
A lot
Kelly's a
of
very big hugger. Everyone except me. She doesn't hug me.
aw.
You have
Social
Well,
distancing. I know. I know. Every time I ask for a hug, she says social distancing, 6 feet.
a llama's length away, babes.
Oh, that's cute. That's cute. What we've been doing is going on YouTube and learning silly meditation techniques to laugh at each other, or Jenga. We've been playing a lot of board
Oh
games.
yeah, yeah,
Yes. So just have fun with social distancing. That's all I can really say about social
Yeah.
distancing. It's just to have fun.
yeah. And the important thing is, gosh, now the governor has issued a stay at home. I mean, we don't have a choice. It's crazy. It's crazy, but it's necessary. We look at the numbers every day, and it's just getting crazy. And this all adds on. Groups like yours are very much needed because one thing that is for sure, we're going to have a high instances of anxiety, PTSD, a large amount of mental issues after we come out of this because there's not enough medical professionals to come around. I mean, look how many people are out of work. The loss of paycheck. What are we going to do to pay the rent? We're laid off, and there's such a backlog at the unemployment office. They say that they're manning that, but hey, I got to say, I really sympathize for a lot of people out there.
Yes, and that's why having resources is very important.
Mhm.
Yes.
The lady who teaches these self-injury support groups in Crown Point, her name is Ruth Oldgan, and she is actually a child psychiatrist and a marriage counselor. She is a wonderful lady with several degrees, and when we meet at that group, we participate and we listen because my son was a self-harmer, and it's great information to walk away from so that you know the signs and symptoms of another child, another adult, anybody.
Right.
And that's what's important is the education that you take from it.
Right. Now, if you don't, do you mind if I ask a question about your son?
Yes. Well, no, I don't mind.
All right. No, I would totally understand. Did you know you didn't know he was self-harming till afterwards, right? That's something you found out afterwards.
So I probably didn't explain myself well. So when he was a freshman in high school, I got a call from his guidance counselor for me to come in. When I got there, that's when I found out he was self-harming. And at the time, I thought, what is that? Self-harming. So his teacher walked past his desk, and I didn't realize it at the time, but he wasn't wearing long sleeves a lot. So he went to school with short sleeves. His teacher found some markings on his arm, and immediately that teacher saw that and took him in the hallway and said, "James, what is going on?" And he ended up in the guidance counselor's office. You guys, he had been self-harming since sixth grade. I missed it for 3.5 years. As a parent, how do you miss it?
Was he a cutter?
He was.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm a self-harmer as well, honestly. So I'm not a cutter. I won't beat myself. But yeah, so I totally understand where that comes from.
I didn't, and that's why I still participate in the group, because I need to know more as a parent and as a neighbor. And so, going back, because he has passed away, and even when I look now, the self-harming, he would come in and say, "I fell off a skateboard. I got hurt playing football," because he was in football.
Yeah.
And it was always, boys sports are excuses. And so as a mom, I'm like, "Oh, okay, here's the Band-Aids, come inside, let's clean you up." And then to find out I missed it. But I didn't know. How are you supposed to know if you don't know?
And you work hard at not being honest about it either. I mean, they're not going to tell you. I mean, you have to really look.
You do. And I did not realize, after James passed away, I didn't realize that I needed validation, knowing that my emotions that I was having were real, were okay to have. Because I had tons of questions. He didn't leave me a note. So I don't know what happened. But as I step back and I look, the self-harming I still don't see. I don't see signs, but I know them now. And before he passed away, I did not realize that some of the signs are you give away your possessions. My son gave away his shoes that he had just bought. He was giving away jeans. He told one of his brothers, "If something happens to me, A, B, C, D, if something happens to me, I want to be cremated." And it was always, if something happens to me. There were times that instant that he passed away wasn't the first time that he tried. Again, I won't tell you what goes on behind closed doors, but that was the first time I knew, and it was too late. And communication with your children's best friends, you guys, if you have a tiny little person in your mind saying something, go with your gut. Just jump right in. Do not step back. Just jump right in. And that's something that I didn't do. I didn't jump in, because I kept saying, he pinky promised me in the car after we held his lifeless friend. And I kept that promise to my heart. He promised me. And, that's what we do. We trust our children. And I'm not telling you not to trust your kids.
Right.
Yeah,
but it's important to know their friends. Yeah. It's important to be a nosy parent. When they're at school, go through their room. I mean, don't tear it up, and don't make it obvious that you went through the room, because you want your children's trust. I'm sure some kids are listening, probably going, "Oh, here she goes." She's telling my mom to go through my stuff. But seriously.
No, kids don't do Facebook.
Any social media, try to know their passwords. I know high schoolers are a little tougher to.
Yeah, Facebook, their parents are on. They don't go on Facebook. They go everywhere else.
Or they'll, some high schoolers and friends, they have 2 or 3 Facebooks.
Yeah.
That their family isn't on. That's just for their friends. I actually just found that out.
Wow.
And I thought, well, that's genius. But then it's scary at the same time.
And you have so many forms of social media out there too. Snapchat, Boxer. I mean, oh boy, I've given up Then you've got the video sharing, and there's like 20 of those out there. Holy
There
moly.
is. It's so hard to keep up, but as a parent, I know we do the best we can at the time, and I'm just asking parents, please go to your community. The Geminis Center is the best way to begin. They have tons of programs, tons of resources to teach you, and so does Porter County. I mean, everyone has been just so sweet and nice, and I love it.
Hey, Angela, we are going to have to start wrapping up the show now. I hate to do this because this is an important topic. Very
Absolutely.
important. We're going to have you on again.
Absolutely. I would love to come on again. I know we kind of jumped around a little bit, but I hope my message came across.
You know what I think I'm going to do is go ahead and send you an invite to one of our neighborhood meetings, our virtual neighborhood meetings, and maybe you can join on because this is something that we all need to be aware of, especially now what we're going through. You may spot something in a family member that you'll be able to catch, and now we're all close quarters. Mm-hmm. Kelly can attest to that, right, Kelly?
Oh, yeah. But I mean, no, depression and anxiety, if you already have those issues, what's going on in the world right now is just going to add to that. And this is a perfect topic to discuss and to talk about.
Right.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And for anyone who isn't seeing a therapist or a psychiatrist, please reach out to anyone. Yes. Somebody who you feel comfortable with, because we have to remember it's not always about us as parents. It's okay for anyone I know to talk to one of my 25-year-old or a teacher, if they have a favorite teacher, or anybody that you feel comfortable talking with. Please speak up, because we want to help you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Well, with that, Angela, we're going to have to wrap up the show. We are so honored to have you on our show. This has been very informative. It's a difficult topic, but it's a necessary topic in these times because, making everyone aware that under stressful situations or, when we're being affected socially, when we have all the things that bring comfort to us taken away, things are going to be stressful. So, we appreciate all that you do, and like I said, if you get me that information, I'll make sure it's posted right along with the video. And
thank you.
Thank you,
Bill and Kelly. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for what you do. And with that, we'll wish you a very safe and happy rest of the day. And please stay safe for us, and we want to have you on again. So with that, we'll wish everyone a goodbye, and goodbye for now.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
This episode of The Bill and Callie Show is brought to you by Tiger Plumbing. Whether you need to replace a faucet, overhaul your sump pump, or desludge your drains, call Tiger Plumbing. In today's world, knowing who's at your door is important. Tiger Plumbing sends you your technician's photo, estimated time of arrival, and a little bit about him or her. Hey, Sam likes fishing and camping. Cool.